Okay, so like in the popular Disney movie WALL-E, our Earth will soon not be able to be habitable because of the pollution and trash that we do on a daily basis. Today I'm going to explain to you what we can do to save the Earth and reduce our trash and pollution consumption every day. So first I'm going to talk about what global warming is, then I'm going to talk about studies done on global warming, and then I'm going to talk about what we can do to help the pollution and trash that we do. So what global warming is, it's when we pollute by doing daily tasks like driving, which puts out gas emissions, or factories making stuff for us and putting out more emissions, or just littering or using trash, and then it eventually ends up in the ocean. According to an article by Earth Day Network, about 8.3 metric tons of plastic end up in the ocean every year. So if we reduce this plastic consumption, then we can reduce it in the ocean. So the plastic in the ocean and the landfills and the emissions from factories and cars that we do prevent the CO2 in the air from being absorbed into the earth, and then the CO2 goes into the atmosphere and deteriorates the atmosphere, which allows UV rays to come in as a larger capacity, which makes the overall earth be more warm and which causes a lot of problems. So studies done. There was a study that a scientist did that he tested ocean acidification, sea level, snow coverage, glacier sizes, and something else to see how long we have left on the Earth. And he says that by 2048, the Earth will be too toxic and too barren for us to continue living on Earth. So we need to change how we live so that the Earth will be able to be lived on past that. Because 2048 seems far, but it's not really that far. So there's been other studies done, but most of them agree with this study that was done by a scientist from NASA, the one that said that we have 30 years left. A lot of them agree with him, but say that it's going to take like 25 years for us to make a difference, and by then it's going to be too toxic already for us to save the planet. So we need to make changes now. So small things that we can do is maybe use cloth bags instead of garbage bags, like plastic bags. So I have cloth bags that I use for groceries, just going on a Target run, other things that I just use, and then because eventually they start smelling, so you can put them in the washer and they stay durable throughout however long you use them. Another thing we can do is buy things in bulk. So at stores like Sprouts, you can bring your own container and they will weigh it, and then you put the stuff in and then you just buy it. So this reduces the plastic that comes in the plastic food packaging, which is in the landfills and in the ocean. Majority of it is the plastic from food packaging that we use on a daily basis. Another thing we can do is use reusable stainless steel water bottles, because these are non-plastic, and the water bottles that are plastic go into the ocean and break up and become microplastics, which cause harm to the sea animals. So another thing that we can do is we all have bank statements or bills that we have to pay, and we can use them as electronic bank statements instead of paper ones. And according to an article by 50 Ways to Help, if every household in America does this, then we could save 18.5 million trees, which is a big forest that we can save if we all use electronic bills and statements instead of paper ones. because they use a lot of trees to use the papers that are sent out. And then another thing that we can do, which is a very small impact, which I'm sure most of you know, is use silicone or metal straws instead of plastic ones. So according to the Earth Day Network article, we use in America 500 million straws per day. And if we reduce this, it's a small impact, but it's still a step forward of using and decreasing the amount of plastic that we use on a daily basis. So there are many other uses that you do, things that you can do on a daily basis that you can decrease or do something different to help save the world, like save the earth and have us live longer than 30 years. So in conclusion, we should all do these small habit changes to our lives to help save the earth we live on.
So Bryant, have you got some comments? You just walked in, so you missed it. Okay. Well, then I'll just give you my comments. The visualization of WALL-E is okay at the beginning, although it's a pretty drastic claim that this is what's coming. It sounds like it's a big topic. You've got a lot of issues included in here, and I think maybe you should be a little bit more focused. Although it ultimately ends up being about global warming, there needs to be a clear explanation about how the plastic production and the utilization of the plastic ends up influencing the global warming issue, because that's, to me, not very clear. That CO2 comes from a variety of processes is definitely clear, but it's mostly, it sounds like it's things that aren't related to plastic, and most of your stuff seems like it's connected to the plastic question. There's not any, I'm not very convinced by a study by a scientist who has maybe these 4 things that they found, and by 2048 we're all screwed. I'm going, this is Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, a piece of it hit me on the head, so let's all give up and run around. I'm going, this is not convincing. You need to tell me who said this, what the research is based on. This sounds like it's a very broad claim being made by this scientist, and who we don't even know. Later on, you seem to suggest that the scientist is from NASA, and a lot of people agree with them. 2048 is not that far away. It's less than 30 years away. Is that right? Less than 30 years? It's about 29 years away. So the idea that everything's going to be, the planet's going to be toxic in 30 years and nobody's going to be able to live here unless we start using cloth bags. My belief that cloth bags are going to solve this problem is really limited. How big a difference is that going to make? How much less global warming will we have? How much less toxicity in the air and the atmosphere because of these kinds of things? I don't get any information about that. I just get a laundry list of environmental concerns, which are not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't work very well as a speech. It doesn't build a very strong argument. It feels like you're all over the place on the suggestions. You've got a lot of things that you start kind of giving us at the end. Use the metal water bottle, use the metal straws, use the cloth bags. I don't know. There were a couple of other things that you tossed in there. It just seems like here's a bucket load of stuff that change your life, and hopefully we won't all die by 2048. I need something that's a little bit more convincing. Not that it's that big a deal, but first of all, I don't use those bottles very often. Occasionally, you're a good man, you're a horrible human being, so you're going to hell. Yeah. And plastic straws, how big an impact does it have on the environment? I don't know. 500 million a day. I know that somebody made that estimate. I'm not sure I'm convinced by it. That means, like in this country, if we're using 500 million a day, that means all of us are using at least 2 or 3 straws a day. The whole country, everybody in the country. That's a lot. I don't know. I saw a whole damn lot of them at Chick-fil-A the other day when I was driving through. They had them all stacked up, and I said, that's a lot of damn straws. They're giving out that many every day. That is a lot. But how they all end up in the ocean, I don't know. I'm not saying that they don't end up in the ocean, but it's like, you want to advocate recycling, then let's advocate recycling. These alternatives are okay, but how big an impact is it going to make, and is it going to prevent us from ending up being in this toxic situation in less than 30 years? Those are big assumptions. Presentation, your eye contact's a little scattered. I think you have a tendency to look off to the sides. I think for the most part, the rest of your presentation is relatively solid. Your voice projects well. I think you're missing an opportunity to get some emotional connection with what's going on. Speech is a little bit short. I'm trying to keep this short also. There we go.